Are you one of those horror and extreme movie fans that's always searching for like the most disturbing thing to watch, like the most messed up, most gross, most disgusting thing? Don't you ever want a night off? Don't you ever want to watch a movie where like only like a few atrocities happen? Well, this one might be it. I'm Adam Caesar. I write books and talk about horror movies on the internet. Give me a follow if you want to see more like this. After making my video about The Untold Story the other week, I kind of stayed in Cat 3 mode and watched a few more Cat 3 movies that I'm going to talk about in the coming weeks. But this one is Run and Kill. This is a movie directed by Billy Tang, and it just came out on Blu-ray from Error 444. Run and Kill does carry Hong Kong's notorious Category 3 rating, but it is nowhere near as extreme or violent as some of the crazier and more notorious films that came out that are Cat 3. But it has quite a Cat 3 pedigree. As I said, directed by Billy Tang and starring Simon Yam of Dr. Lamb fame, probably one of the more extreme Cat 3 movies. This is the story of this guy, Tang, who is just this typical workaday dad in Hong Kong. We see him kind of go through his typical morning. He kisses his beautiful wife goodbye. He feeds his daughter breakfast and walks her to school before he goes to work. He has a good relationship with his elderly mother, who comes and makes him lunch. It's kind of like picturesque. It's kind of all this stuff's going right, and this guy just seems like a generally nice, good-natured guy who's not typically the protagonist we get in Cat 3. Usually we're following psychopaths and degenerates, but this is just like the nicest, most mild-mannered guy. His mother reminds him that it's actually his wedding anniversary, so he comes home from work a little early to surprise his wife and finds her in bed with another guy. That's where you're thinking, okay, this is going to be like a descent into madness movie. This is going to cause him to snap. He's going to go crazy. He's going to go on a violent kill spree. I know how these movies work. He doesn't. He's actually such a nice guy that he just like leaves and is a little bit embarrassed that he's interrupted them. He's so meek and mild-mannered. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He's in shock. So he goes out drinking. He gets loaded at a bar, and he starts talking to people, and he kind of starts running his mouth and commiserating with what's happened, what's gone wrong. And through weird happenstance and weird other people getting involved with this drunk guy, he ends up hiring a hit on his own wife, and it only gets crazier from there. If it sounds like a wrongful like assassination type police procedural thing, it's not. It becomes basically like a full-on war movie by the end. It becomes almost like a Rambo-esque 1 versus 100 type thing. There's like veterans of the Vietnam War get involved, and mercenaries, and a mad dog mercenary who has like a nosebleed every time he's about to do violence. That's the Simon Yam character. It's wild. It gets crazy, and it ends on a pretty downbeat and disturbing note that if you're going through the whole movie and you're like, I don't see why this had to be Cat 3. There's no nudity. There's the violence is within the acceptable realm of kind of maybe a little bit bloodier Hong Kong martial arts violence. But by the third act, you're like, oh, I see why this is a Cat 3 movie. But a very, very, very enjoyable film and a great looking Blu-ray. The floodgates have kind of opened on Hong Kong movies in general in the last few years, between the like Arrow, Shaw Brothers sets and different Golden Harvest movies coming over, and now these Cat 3 movies coming over with Vinegar Syndrome doing some, and Unearthed doing some, and Error 444 doing some. It's really great to see these movies get this treatment, because these were movies that, you know, I used to go down to Chinatown when I was living in Boston and just buy, you know, a bunch of VCDs and stuff like that, and they looked terrible. I mean, they were CDs. I kind of imagined that was how these movies looked, and these new Blu-rays with these, you know, official scans from film negatives and film materials, and seeing how good these movies can look. They're just doing really good work. And there's a lot of features on here. I think there's like 2 different commentaries. There's a locations tour, which I love locations tours as someone that likes like regional horror and where movies are made and how movies are made like on the street and looking at the real geography of where they shot movies. But this one's especially interesting because you don't see them a lot for Hong Kong movies. And the people that put this one together really talk about kind of the social and political and cultural implications of the places where they shot this movie. Very, very interesting. A great disc, a really fun movie. I highly suggest picking it up. I think right now it's on their website. It says sold out, but I think it's just because they're shipping out pre-orders. I think they might restock with the rest of these limited edition discs pretty soon. So keep an eye out on that, like join their newsletter or whatever, because Error 4444, great company that's doing great work, and I think has big things on the horizon from what I've heard through the grapevine.